transition, they typically don't think of a state in which you're not moving or choosing not to move, and waiting. And I think that sometimes that can be the biggest part of transition is preparing, during that time of wait. So it's not necessarily that you're not doing anything, but maybe instead of trying to exert energy externally, you're doing some self discovery, and you are, kind of making sure that you're in a place to receive once that transitional period has been completed and you've hit that new level. So I really think that that was an amazing point, that you had brought up last episode. And, for anyone who missed it, definitely um, you can log into to call in. Is public, and you can also go on again, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify Podcasts. See that, as well as YouTube and Facebook Live, supportive advice, and I think on YouTube it is Aquila Wheatley LMFT. Don't ask. Name is long. That's fine. And did you have any additional thoughts on
Well, I think, well, of course, I'll give you the two for one special. Procrastination, oh, instant gratification kills the nation.
that? Oh,
But
that's good.
seriously, definitely like with transition, like the transition, like for me, was moving too fast and doing too much to sitting and being almost like a cat waiting to pounce, if you will, where you kind of get into a posture of calculated moves as opposed to just movement. And I think that's something that is harder to do, especially with today's society where someone who doesn't look like or seem like or even smell like a certain thing that is the expectation is seen as a sore thumb. Where really they really on to something most times. What I saw like a super nonconformist when I say this, but what most people kind of like or gravitate to kind of makes me concerned. Like why is it so popular? What's wrong with it? What's going? Something is wrong. Like that's also my inner conspiracy theorist too. But I'll digress with that. That's a whole nother subject. But yeah, that's I think that's important to just know because for some people their transition is going from sitting and being in a study mode to being active. You got to know where you at with it, and that's the whole that's the biggest thing about transition. What are you transitioning to? What is your what's the end game, and what is the strategy to get there? And I think that's it's all independent on the person, and I think that's the biggest thing people should take away is like what is gonna work for you, not work for Jeff over there that you went to school with, or work for Margie and what works for you, Broomhilda, or what, whatever the person's name is. What works for you? Okay, what works for you, Mary Catherine?
My name ain't working for me.
Well, I'll just insert random name here, or insert your name here in TV land, or calling app land, or TikTok land, or Tic Tac land, I should say, as the old folks say.
Though. So, I 100%, agree that it is all about, what works for you. Now, granted, we have external motivation, which is typically societal expectation, right? And there's a part of that that's necessary, right? If there were no, hunger, starvation, no competition, people wouldn't have motivation to succeed, right? Because then what would success be? So a lot of times society determines those things, and it puts us in a place to continue to grow, and to have goals to actually grow toward. If those things aren't in place, then it's essentially, um, we can become stagnant. But everybody has their own road, so to speak. Everybody has their own purpose. And so it definitely is important to make sure that whatever road you are on or wherever you're going toward is something that is going to take you towards self actualization versus something that is just going to help you conform. So with that being said, I am going to transition into the Am I the Asshole Reddit, because I just love it.
Yay!
I just love it. I love it. I love it. And I didn't get a chance to do that last week, but I'm not saying that begrudgingly. I'm definitely glad that the conversation took the turn it did, because hopefully it really was helpful for those that were able to tune in. And again, I thank everyone who did tune in. So, oh, Monique, uh, Mo, I thought you. See, this is what I be talking about. Mo is actually on the line. I'm going to invite you to be a speaker. Hey, Carno, how are you? Jam Pop is stupid and can consistently do stupid stuff. I try to avoid the the idiocy. Okay, yeah. Better this. Well, I'm glad you're doing better this week. Definitely. Um, and I'm glad that you are here to listen as well as share. Hey Mo, how are you doing? I'm surprised to see you. Thankful.
Thanks for having me once again.
Of course, of
I'm
course.
excited to hear what we're talking about for today.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're not gonna draw this out too long, but I did want to go into the Am I the Asshole Reddit. So here it is. It's a little long, so bear with me. Am I the asshole for not helping my brother with his daughters when his wife left him? Um, Apparently this person is a 30-year-old female, is single, child free by choice. She dates occasionally, but no long-term relationships. This is due to many reasons, like I love my freedom, I want to enjoy my life unencumbered with responsibilities, and I want to really focus on my career. So I can already tell now that this person is kind of setting us up to understand why they don't want to help with it with their brother's children. Basically, what I'm seeing here is a layout of sacrifices. Hey, I sacrificed relationship. I decided not to have my own children. I really enjoy my freedom, and it's worth those sacrifices, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's kind of, and that lets me. It kind of creates an environment where you have to wonder why this person is already starting to overcompensate in the conversation, and we just started, right? So it says my older brother, who was 34, got married when he was 26. He has two kids, both female, 7 and 4. They had a traditional household. He wanted a partner who stayed home and looked after the family while he earned. She had apparently dreamed about being a homemaker and taking care of children, but during the last couple of years, she showed signs of hating it. Yeah. She wanted to study more and work outside, build something of her own, but my brother refused to step up or help. I warned him once, but he told me it's none of my business how he runs his household, so I kept my mouth shut. His wife left him a month ago. She just wrote him a letter saying she can't do this and she wants to explore her life. She left kids with him and basically vanished. We have no idea where she is. Jeez, that sucks. The thing is, my brother doesn't know how to do even the most basic things. He is the kind of guy who never changed a diaper or toasted bread. Hmm. The moment my brother found that his wife left, he called my mother, who rushed in to save the day. She thought it was short term, and in my SIL would be back. Oh, sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law would be back, but she hasn't. My father is unwell and needs her home soon. They live hours away. My brother suggested she take the kids home with what? No, no, brother, we're not doing that. My dad said no. He is retired and they are both getting old. He does not want to have kids in the house full time, taking up their energy. Since that was a no-go, my brother asked me to either move in with them to help out or take kids in with me. I refused. From what I see, he is a grown adult and these kids are his responsibility. I made a choice to live the way I do, and I do not want to sacrifice my life for his choices. My family is pressuring me sent, into this stuff, blah, 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 talking about how my brother does not know how to take care of kids. The little girl needs a woman in her life, other little girls, and blah, 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 blah. So, am I the asshole? Okay? What, that's a lot. That's a lot. I'm kind of chuckling just a tad, because he's like, all right, mom, take him. Like, here, take, like, no. So, I see Carnal seems awfully selfish. Help, not take over. So, how old are the kids? 7 and 4. Both females, a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. Now, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a hard one. You know, it's really a hard one because this person has established their life. They have made choices, you know, based on what they want out of life, and now, you know, the brother is like, well, I don't know what to do with these kids. So, you know, you need to help me, you know, or figure out what to do with your kids. You know, if you don't know how to toast bread, find out. You know, everybody had to start from scratch when it comes to being a parent. There is no manual. There's books. There's plenty of books. But there's no manual, you know, on how to be a parent to your specific child, because nobody has your specific child but you, you know. And so everybody has had to go through trial and error and figuring things out. You don't get to just say, oh, okay, well, I don't know what to do with these kids. Here, you do it. I guess that's just my opinion. But I'm your sister. Remember, you told me to mind my business. I know that's right, Mo. He said, mind your business. 100, you know. And you know, and it's hard because it's like, and I was just talking to a client about this today. I have a client that is, you know, about to get married soon, and there were some concerns because of the way that their spouse, I mean not their spouse, but their fiance current viewpoints are, right? And one thing that I said was, viewpoints change, people grow, needs change, wants change, you know, and it's important to understand that, because in this scenario, at some point, she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And then she decided it wasn't for her. But she would not have known it wasn't for her until she actually attempted to do it, right? It says he should have been participating more from the start, and maybe the mom wouldn't have left in the. Go ahead, Cardinal. You are on it tonight. You are on it tonight. Absolutely. You know, it seems like that he put all of that on her, and even if she took it willingly, which is fine if that's the case and if that was the dynamic in which they set up. But to not know how to change not a one diaper, or cook a meal, or it's like, as there is a part of that that's just autonomy, that's just independence, that things that you would need to know how to do even if you didn't have kids, if you never got married at all. These are just things that you would need to know to do to survive as a human being. So, Dante, thoughts? And yes, Carnal, I'm with you. Takes more than money, 100%. Mr. Machismo, is she the a-hole? Did I lose you? Oh, one second. One sec. So, Mo, based off of the comments that I'm seeing, I take it you don't think she's an a-hole.
You better know I don't think she no butthole, okay? Because first of all, she tried to tell her brother that, your wife is saying she's going crazy. Do you know how hard it is to deal with a 4-year old and a 7-year old? And then you have to be around them little people all day long and they don't listen. And you got to
Mm-hmm.
repeat yourself over and over and over again. And that was her life for how many years? And then she expresses to her wonderful husband, I would like to go out and be with normal people. And then you tell me no, and you don't want to support me. But I also feel like the wife, even though, she shared that with her husband, even though she's a homemaker, she should have been making her husband do something. Like,
Yeah,
there's no way that I'm about to have another baby and my husband is not changing a diaper. Like,
say that.
you can't help out, but when you come across a lot of families, when I come across a lot of families, it goes both ways. But most of the time, women are more of the caretakers, and so men can be in a house but don't participate in taking care of the children. And so it's not fair that me and you both go to work or I'm at home all day and you think I'm not doing anything when I'm emotionally tired. So she needed some self-care and some things to do to herself. And I think people fail to realize those who are with the at home with the kids the most, they need some self-care to get away from the kids too. So
Yeah, I mean,
there's no way
100%.
that I can. Yeah, no way. You're gonna change the diaper, sir. When that baby wake up, you're gonna get up and go hold the baby. This time, it's your turn. It's your turn, Big Daddy. Go get that baby. Go get Junior.
He said, Big Daddy. So
Big
Carnal,
Daddy, go get Junior.
I know that's. I mean, I'm with you. I am with you. My oldest daughter, who we've talked about plenty of times. She's 19, and not, with her, it was just me and her. So there was no taking turns or anything like that. It was nobody that hand anything over to. You know, but you know, my daughter and my son, it was definitely equal responsibility, essentially. Very active, paternal figures, and I'm so appreciative, of that, and I think I was even more appreciative of that because I knew what it felt like not to have that, you know. Granted, on the other hand, a part of why we might hoard some of the responsibility is because then we don't have to run things by someone else. We don't have to get someone else's opinion. We don't have to discuss things and have conflict or get someone else's approval or come to compromise about things. And that was another aspect of it that I realized, because when it was just me and my oldest daughter, I didn't have to ask anybody anything. Whatever we were going to do was whatever we were going to do, but then with with paternal involvement, now there is somebody who has an opinion. There's somebody who also has that child's best interest. There's somebody who was possibly raised, differently than we were, and so sometimes part of hoarding the responsibility is not wanting to have to share in the decision making, and so that's another concept. But I did want to make sure that I'm getting to Carnal, and he said women need to get their heads out of the clouds too, though, because they all want that millionaire lifestyle where they don't have to do much of anything. And then also he says discipline and structure, not until they are about 14 or so. And then yes, but he was at work all day. How was he gonna come home and work more to give you a break from nothing? So I think that essentially what we're saying is that there's different types of work. There are individuals that might go out and work outside of the home, and in that they are they're bringing in income. That income, supports those that are inside of the home, including that person. But then there is also a person who works inside of the home, and that is just as important, right? Because as he's seeing now, there's a lot that needs to get done that he's having a very hard time doing. So had she actually been doing nothing, then we wouldn't be having this conversation, because he wouldn't be freaking out because there's nobody at home to take care of the kids. So that role, as you can hear, in the dialogue there, was very, very important. Just as important as his role outside the house. If ladies want the man to do more, then they have to cede the lead to him. I don't know. Not fight him at every turn about every little thing. Women are fickle and chaotic. And so I'm going to kind of redirect, just because I want to stay on point. Because in this particular case,
Colonel.
huh? In this particular case, right? The main focus is the sister, and so we have the brother that kind of pushed up against the change that his wife was trying to make, where she was trying to include him, ask for his help, work out. She wanted to work outside the home, go to school, things of that nature. And he kind of shot it down, or wasn't willing to help, with her growth and her goals, right? And so then she leaves, Now, whether or not she's the asshole is not really in question, even though, leaving your kids, that's a pretty, that's a pretty a-hole move, in all honesty. But as far as the sister is concerned, she's established her life. She's made choices. She decided she didn't want to be in a long-term relationship because she liked her freedom. She didn't want to have kids. She didn't want to do all of this other stuff. And now her brother's like, well, I don't know what to do. You got to come live here. She doesn't. She doesn't have to do that. Would it be nice for him? Yeah. But one thing I tell my clients is we save others by empowering them to save themselves. And her moving in is only going to continue to enable him. The no is what's going to actually empower him to learn to do things on his own and establish a relationship with his children, in which you can tell he has not done. Mr. Machismo, you're back. Thoughts?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the sister is not wrong at all. She has boundaries, and to be honest, them ain't her kids. So she could do what she can, but she can't. That's just unrealistic expectations from the brother. And then definitely the brother should definitely know how to change diapers. And like I don't even understand. And keep in mind, I'm coming from a unicorn perspective where I ain't got no kids, but when I do, like I'm gonna be I'm gonna know how to do the diapers better than the mama. But that's a discussion. So you know, it's just kind of a mess. I feel bad for the dude though because he part he married for love, but he unfortunately had a situation where it didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, it was warning signs though, from what I hear, like where he just didn't catch them though. So there's that. But yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, but you can't just be out here without knowing how to do basic skills. I mean, come on now, you don't know how to make toast? Like, come, that's wild. That is wild. That is bizarre. But hey, it is. So with a lot of things in life, I guess. But yeah, that is. He kind of dug the hole for himself with that one. But yeah, that's my thoughts. Like we know who the problem in this is the wife that left, just like it would be if a dude left, which is usually the case. This is actually an aberration. This don't happen often. When it's the other way, with a girl leave, like wow, when did this happen? Every blue moon. But it's an unfortunate situation, but it's definitely not the sister's problem.
You know, I also wanted to go into Carnal's questions. What is she doing? And sad state for nuclear families these days. Yeah, definitely sad state. We don't know what she's doing. The assumption based off of what she was trying to gain within the marriage, right, is that she's trying to explore herself. She wanted to go to school. She wanted to work outside of the home. She wanted to better herself and things of that nature. So the assumption would be because she did not have the support to be able to go outside of the home as she had requested, she left to go and pursue those ventures. So partying and clubbing and all of that, that's not, based off of the information we have, that's not a valid assumption. More or less, she is trying to better herself. And she didn't feel like she could do that within their marriage. But again, back to the sister, definitely not an a-hole. Now, I wonder how you would approach Dante, um, having a significant other that they say that they want a family, that they want to settle down, that they've always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And so you all communicate your roles before you get married, before you have children, and then you're 7 years in, and all of a sudden your spouse says, psych, never mind. I don't want to do this anymore. I would like to do something else. I want to explore a different side of myself. I want to get out the house. I don't want to be a homemaker, whatever the case may be. What would be that conversation for you? How do you think you would respond?
As far as her like saying she want to leave, or the part that led up to it,
Right, the
because
part
it
that
definitely was a.
not her leaving, but like after several years, her going from, hey, this is the role that I've taken on, and this is, I'm a wife, I'm a mom at home, I take care of home, to, I don't really want to be at home anymore. I want to go back to school. I want to and just essentially, wanting to change the
What
rules
is?
around you that had already been established in a relationship.
Um, I signed up for that. Unfortunately, well, depending on how that work out, I signed up for that. So that's the whole
But how did
thing. You know, when you get
how did you sign up for that
when you get
when there was something else that you thought was going to be taking place before marriage?
I mean, you kind of gotta have, for better or worse, till death do us part. That's part of
Right.
it. So that's why you gotta. Oh yeah, somebody take care of something. But yeah, that's what you sign up for when you get married. Like you that's why that's you have to invest the people that you marry. Like that's why you kind of gotta. It's of course it's not a perfect science. Yeah, you hear all type of stuff, but it's not a perfect science with that backing it up. But it's a look like a propane truck or something. But I mean that's a tough situation. But I mean, old boy backing it up. If he don't know how to make toast, he obviously ain't. He's oblivious to the wants and needs of the girl that he loves. So that's one issue, and that's the issue really. He don't even know what he signed up for, and I don't want to sound pretentious, but I mean that's what he could. You gotta know your personnel. Like that is wild. But I think we had a similar discussion about the girls' search history. About you might not know certain stuff. You gonna know. I'm nosy. I'm gonna know stuff. I'm gonna ask stuff. I'm gonna know stuff. But everybody's not like that. So because my goal isn't not to be in that situation where 11 years later, who is this person? What is this? How did this happen? How did we get here? It's always signs. It's always signs.
And in all honesty, I don't think that any of us. I'm gonna need you to mute yourself. but but I don't think any of us, get into these situations because we're oblivious. I think that there are expectations that are spoken, and I think that there's expectations that are unspoken. And I think that, sometimes when you're with someone, you learn them as they learn themselves. Like, the person that I am now is not the person that I was 8 years ago. And so I can't expect someone to know who I would be now when I didn't even know who I would be now. And so it's not necessarily always realistic, to think that um, you would know. Um, nevertheless, you know, I wanna switch it up a little bit. I wanna switch it up. Mo, let's say I wanna turn it around a little bit. Let's say you have a husband, right? That before you went and got married, he was the breadwinner. He was the person who went out. He made money for the entire family. He said that's who he always wanted to be, what he always wanted to do. You said that you wanted to be, the stay-at-home mom, and then and you guys carry out those roles for several years, and then all of a sudden one day he comes to you and he says, "Yeah, I don't want to work anymore." What is your
Um,
response to that? Right?
um, um, well, first of all, I've never been the person who don't work. My mother has trained me to work since I was 4. Ain't that right, Terry? She down at the bottom.
Hey, Terry.
However,
Hey, Pickle. Hey,
how,
Carmen.
However, if I had to be a home mom, that would probably be torture for me.
This is a fake
Um,
scenario, by the way.
that would be torture. Like, and he said, okay, so no, I'm not. It's him the other way around. So
Hmm.
he's at home all day with the kids, and I'm taking care of the family. It's,
No, he's at work. This is the scenario.
oh, he's at work.
Your husband is at work, right? He works full time. He's always worked full time. That was the roles that you guys determined. You stayed at
Mhm.
home with the children. 7 years
Jesus.
later, he comes to
God.
you and he says, "I don't want to work anymore."
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, who's going to pay the bills? I'm agree with Colonel right now. That would be hard for me to swallow and deal with that if I'm been a homemaker all this time and he's been out there making all the money and now he doesn't want to work. Um but at the same token, I'll probably gladly go find a job. I'll probably already have one a job lined up. That would be that would be hard because the roles did change and I was used to my husband um taking care of everything. However, in life, we supposed to be a team, right? And so if my husband is tired of working, I will have to swallow my pride or my feelings or whatever that may be, and we will have to figure out what's next for us. Um, I when you were talking about roles and you were talking about how things change, when I think about couples, as you were talking about two people, you have a person who's about to get married. And I think that sometimes, we change. It appears that women change more than men, as in probably emotionally and mentally. And so I find that that's a struggle, personally, and what I've seen with a few people where I work at when couples come in. So it appears that the women grow emotionally and mentally, and the men could be more content with life being the same for years. And the women um, want to grow and do different things and have different interests. So, what do you say about that?
I say that if that were generally true, that females change more consistently or more often than males, then there would not be midlife crisis. And a lot of times, what you'll see is you'll see women go through them too. They go through them too, but it's more socially seen and acknowledged that men go through midlife crisis because they get to a point where they're like, okay, I've been doing this for X amount of time. What's next? What am I doing? Who am I? How did I get here? I feel stuck. I don't know. And so that is their time typically when they start wanting to grow, change, and where becomes very important for them to do exploration. Now, what you typically will see is a lot of external change versus internal change. But I see a lot more males going into therapy and having their mental health needs met, which kudos to them because it allows them to do the internal exploration that they need to do to get to where they actually want to be or where they actually want to go because you have these external values that are instilled in you since birth. Men are supposed to do this, women are supposed to do that. You have those societal gender roles. and you go and you push 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 to fulfill those societal, to alleviate those societal pressures, right? But then at some point, you're like, but what do I want? I've done this because I was supposed to. I've done that and that and that because I was supposed to. What do I want? And that's typically what you see in a midlife crisis. And men have those just as well as women. In what way did evolution determine these roles, Carnal? I'm curious.
Carnot also made a statement that women are better at certain jobs than men. And I want to say that I have to give my daughter's father credit. He did a lot of things when my daughter was born. He made sure he gave her baths. He got up out the middle of the night to get her. He held her all the time. He created a brat, but he was very he was very active with my daughter. So I one thing I can say and give him hand claps is that he wanted to do the dress up for all the holidays. He was like, me and Bookie, we going to go trick or treat. Me and Bookie, it's Easter time. It's me and Bookie this and this. And I was like, geez, we will kind of fight over holidays. And after a while, I was like, go ahead, bruh. She's all yours, I guess. And so he enjoyed doing all holidays and everything, but he was very active. So my daughter's dad has been very active, and I appreciate him. So
And I do want to say
from the
that,
beginning.
and I do want to say too, and I thank you, Mo, for sharing that. It is a stereotype that women are just born more maternal than males, or more nurturing, not maternal, more nurturing than males. That is not true. There are some women that are born, and they don't, they're not inclined to have children. They're not interested in that nurturing aspect. I talk to people all the time that are female. They're like, somebody crying in front of me, and I'm like, what do you want, man? Like, what? What am I supposed to, like, pat you, or like, and it's even harder to have those awkward moments because society tells you, well, you're supposed to know what to do. You're supposed to be nurturing. You're supposed to, and it's like, no, we're not. We're born human, you know and some people have, stronger, nurturing, predispositions than others, and so it's not fair to say that, just because a woman is female, that they should want to stay home with children, or be, naturally, more nurturing than a male, or whatever the case may be. I mean, now I've been watching this show, and so I'm just gonna come out of left field with this, because it's just that's all this show talks about is penguins. But the but the male penguin is is the one that actually hovers over the egg, and makes sure that it's okay and taken care of. It's not the female penguin, and so in other species, there are males that are the ones that actually produce, and not the women. And so, like, it's only in, I guess, I'm looking for a word. It's escaped me. It's late. But anyway, it's only in our species where we have these roles where it's like, oh, well, you're a female, so you're supposed to, and you're a guy, so you're supposed to. No, there's guys who are inclined to cook, who love to cook. There's guys who love to clean. There's guys that are more nurturing. They're sensitive. They have greater emotional intelligence. There's women who have that, but it's not because of our gender. It's because of who we are as human beings. And so I just don't think that that's fair. I mean, I'm listening to Mo, and she's like, man, I wouldn't want to stay at home. That doesn't disqualify her as a woman because she would like to work outside the home. That doesn't make her not a good mother. That doesn't mean that she's not nurturing. That doesn't mean that she doesn't fit some type of mold because she wants to work outside the house. I remember when my son was born, for a whole month or two, um, I had to, I wasn't able to go back to work. I had to stay home with him. He was born in the wintertime. I was not able to leave the house unless he had a doctor's appointment because he was not supposed to leave the house because he was premature. I crawled up the walls, down and up and down and up and down. That was the longest 2 months of my life. Now I love my son. I love my son. I love my son. And also I'm very nurturing. But staying at home, not being active, not being able to go out, learn, grow, and experience social growth, that was horrific. I couldn't imagine that being every day. For no, 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 I couldn't. I couldn't.
It's like COVID-19. Oh my God, sitting in the house all day,
It is not. It's like
not being able to
no.
have interaction. Horrible.
Yeah, it was, and again, I love my son, and you know I'm very very nurturing, but there is a part of me that needs to be able to go out and do other things. There's other parts of me outside of being a mother. I'm a whole human being. And so I can't only fulfill one part of that and neglect every other part of that and think that I am going to be a balanced human being. I'm not going to be, and it seems like that is the Coco 19. I'm so priorities. Okay, I hear that priorities. And yeah, you know, there are priorities, but again, there is also propensities, and there are things that some people are innately better at than others, and it's not based on gender. It's not based on gender, and we would like it to be because that makes things easier, that makes things black and white, but that's not the world that we live in. We live in a world full of gray, and it's just that mindset of, well, she's a female and and I'm out here working, so she needs to get it together and be okay being at home. That got due left, because you have to make room for your partner to grow just as you are growing. It's not one sided.
Aquiva, I have a question about, so how do you approach a situation? You tell your significant other several times, this is bothering me. I'm tired of cleaning up after you. When you say things like that, you hurt me. You continue to tell a person how you feel, but they ignore your feelings, and this we see this in this case, and so she ended up leaving. She kept sharing how she felt and how she wanted to do something different, but he was not willing to hear or listen to what she was saying. He was not willing to adjust. So when you're not willing to adjust, to compromise and to help your significant other, um that brings on many problems.
So, just so that I can better understand, it, how would I approach
When
what specifically?
what do you do when your mate does not listen to you, when you continue to tell them how you feel and they ignore your feelings? After a while that gets old, and when we look at the scenario, the wife left because she kept saying she didn't want to be a homemaker no more. She wanted to go out and experience life, but she was being ignored. Her feelings were not being considered.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when your feelings are not being considered and you continue to share how you feel and someone ignores, to me, that's basically like you're saying F me, screw me.
And that is a that is definitely a concept that is shared, by many. If you're not taking action around how I feel or the changes that I want to see, then you must not be hearing me. Sometimes individuals hear what you're saying, but they may not believe that you're actually going to act on it. They in which point you see a lot of avoidance. Whereas, like, I heard what you said, but I'm just hoping that you don't do anything about it. So let's just avoid this. But there's also different stages of change. There's pre-contemplation. There's contemplation, right? Those are the first two. Pre-contemplation is when you're in a space where you don't even know that anything is going on, right? Contemplation is when you're in a space where you understand that there's something going on, there's a problem, but you're not ready to actually do anything about it. And so, as a system, they were in contemplation, meaning that the wife brought up something was going on with her husband. He heard what she said, but he wasn't ready to do anything about it. He wasn't ready for change, nor did he accept the fact that there was a change that needed to occur. And so, essentially, what happened is he went into avoidance, and essentially, she ended up leaving. Now, typically, what I would do is interpersonal effectiveness training, with a couple, and that has a lot to do with like assertiveness training, which is how you express yourself. What is your stance? Are you confident in what you're saying? Are you saying this is what I need, or this is what I think I need, or maybe I might want to do this? Or are you saying is this a definite, or does it sound like a maybe? Just making sure that we're communicating in a way that our partner understands that this is either a yes or a no, and so that they can know how they need to move forward. So it's a lot that can go into it, but typically I would have talked to the wife about interpersonal effectiveness. I probably would have did some role playing with her, and asking her how she was confronting this. What language was she using? What was her body language as well? What was her nonverbals? And when he didn't respond, what was her follow up, outside of just getting frustrated? And so that would have been the course of action that I probably would have taken, with the wife, as it related to him not necessarily, or her feeling like she wasn't being heard. I hope that answers the question. That was me quoting my wife. When I asked her to lay out precisely what it was that I was saying that was causing her pain, she could not even do it. Why won't you stop saying that? It hurts me. Oh, okay. You know, um, and then also, I don't know you and your relationship, Carnal. I don't. I've experienced you on this show a number of times. If you are even a tenth as aggressive in your relationships as your conversation has been at times, in the chat, you know, that's not that that may not be a place where someone feels comfortable being vulnerable, right? And again, I don't know the situation. I wasn't there. I don't know if the aggressiveness that you have now is because of the situation that you went through, or if this is kind of somewhat how you were within your relationship, right? So I don't know that, but I will say that if um, you are even a tenth of the amount, or your conversation is even a tenth of the way that it is at times, and in the chat here, I can definitely see why maybe someone wouldn't feel comfortable going into it, or maybe being afraid to kind of dig into it, or even being shocked that you don't understand what it is that is hurtful, and so there's a lot that goes into that. But again, interpersonal effectiveness is really good with that, because there is Dear Man, and Dear Man is an assertiveness training where it breaks down how to speak, to others in a way to get the things that you need, and not in a way that breaks down the other person, but in a way that empowers you, to get what you need from the relationship that you're having with them. And there's also Give, which is another interpersonal effectiveness training, where it is allowing more empathy. So individuals that might struggle with aggressive communication, Give is something that I would typically use and work through with them, because it is all about having empathy, and and listening to hear, and making sure that you're giving that person the space to be vulnerable, and making them feel safe in the process. So those are two different types of training for two different types of issues. But again, I hope I answered your question, Monicia. So at this point, I want to thank Carnal, I want to thank Pickle, I want to thank Terry, Vincent, and Brian, who just joined, for coming on. Again, I am here on Thursdays, typically at 6 o'clock. And if you missed the session, I don't know why I want to keep saying session. If you missed the show live, you can definitely catch the replay on YouTube, Aquila Wheatley LMFT, or you can catch it on Facebook Live as supportive advice. You can also catch it so you on Supportive Advice Live, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify podcasts as well. So I want to thank you all again for listening. Definitely subscribe, 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 subscribe. What's happening? Jordan Peterson in the house, and then someone said no. I don't know what's happening, but I'm gonna let that chat be the chat, and I'm gonna again thank you for coming in, and I will catch you all soon. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Mo. Thank everybody for
Have a good
joining.
night.